Hi there, this is Coach Karen with a watering mouth. I am so excited to share with you today the first of a mini series that I'm doing. It is going to be an insider's look into what it's like to have a private coach. So I do private one-on-one coaching here at the Watering Mouth. I help transform my clients' lives and transform their weight and their health as well. So in today's session, you're going to see a brave woman who was sharing with us her desire to eat some chocolate chip cookies. So I hope that you can kind of take a look at this and maybe see yourself in these sessions and learn from what I'm teaching this client. So if you're interested in pursuing and having a transformative experience in your life and you want life coaching, then you can apply for a mini session with me where we decide if we're a good fit. And the link to that is right in our show notes. So that's either going to be below or above this video, depending on your screen. But even if you don't think that you want to have a private coach, I'm still going to offer you this great tool that you can use to transform your life, and that's going to be in the cheat sheets. So you can go to www.thewateringmouth.com/cheat sheets and sign up there, and you'll have access totally for free for this cheat sheet. All right. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming and sharing your story with us today. So tell me a little bit about what you want coaching on today.
Well, I think what is at the heart of my problem with being consistent, living, whole food, plant-based lifestyle, eat to live, is just, the beliefs in my mind. And I think I have a belief in my mind that if I don't use food as a crutch, as an emotional crutch, then I won't be able to get through emotional hard times and still be okay.
Okay.
Have it.
So why are you choosing to think that?
Well, probably because it's very pleasurable to use those crutches. It's easy. It's, it's efficient and it's pleasurable. And my family, I have a large family. I have a husband and 6 children, 5 of whom are living here at home. The eldest is out of the house. And of course, having lived, the sad lifestyle all of my life, I've taught them very well how to enjoy, all of those yummy foods and now they want them all the time. And so even when I'm making eat to live foods, they're having all the other foods around all the time. So, I mean, I could come up with a whole bunch of excuses or reasons why it's difficult, but I want to get to the point where I'm just happily and peacefully consistent and taking care of myself.
Okay.
I have a lot of weight to lose. I think if I were to be at the weight Dr. Furman suggests, I would be around 90 pounds lighter than I am now.
Okay.
And that's a problem. So I'm having a hard time.
Okay, so tell me about the last time that you wanted to use food as an emotional crutch.
Let's see. It was just today.
Okay.
I was probably feeling frustrated about something or ashamed about something, and I wanted to just go and get the bag of chocolate chips in the pantry and open it up and have some.
Okay. And did you?
I did not.
Okay. Okay. So do you remember what happened that made you want to have those chips?
No, I don't.
Yeah. And actually, let me correct myself because it's not what happened that made you want to have the chips, right? So we have something in our life that usually happens, which we say is a circumstance, right? And then you have a thought about the circumstance.
Right.
And that thought creates this desire, which is the desire for the food, and then we eat the food. So it's never actually what's happening in our lives that make us eat. It's the thought that we're having about what's happening. Does that make sense to you?
Right. So I can point to I had a good run about 9 days or so of really good healthy eating, exercising, journaling, taking care of myself. And then I woke up one morning with this thought like, oh, I want chocolate chips. I really want chocolate chips.
Okay.
And it didn't take very long before, within a couple days, I was just completely off track
Okay.
because I had let that thought be so real that I had to have them. Or
Right.
if I couldn't have them, I had to have some other treat. And once I'm eating that treat, well, I might as well eat anything,
Okay. Okie dokie. So you woke up and you had this thought, I want chocolate chips.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you were thinking that I wanted the chocolate chips?
Probably a mixture of like, oh, I know how good I'll feel if I eat that, and I know how bad I feel if I eat that. And kind of a dread of like, oh, how am I going to get rid of this? Or how am I going to get rid of this thought? Do I even want to get rid of this thought? I think that's probably an issue, is the dread. Like, can I actually go through all of the feeling the desire for this thing without actually having it?
Okay.
What will happen if I don't,
So that thought there, I want chocolate chips. I know how good it will feel. When you thought that, you felt dread, or did you feel something else when you thought that?
Well, probably also felt a little excitement,
Excitement. Okay.
a little, I don't know how to say it. Just like, yeah, wouldn't that be
Anticipation,
nice?
right?
Anticipation,
Excitement.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So when you felt that excitement, what did you do?
Well, I was in a group, kind of a Facebook group, and we were all doing this challenge together. So I posted on that and said, hey, I've been wanting this. And they were really supportive. And they said, no, you can be strong. Don't do it.
Okay.
But then I didn't drop the thought. It stayed.
Okay. That's great. So you kept thinking the thought, like almost like you were ruminating it over in your head, repeating it over in your head.
Right.
Okay. And then you eventually, I think, as you told me, you eventually ate the chocolate chips.
I think I even ate something else before the chocolate chips, just because I had gotten into the point where I was giving myself permission to just focus on focus on the other foods. And I think it really is about focus, what I'm allowing myself to think about.
So here's the thing, right? So you have this thought that I want the chocolate chips. I know how good it's going to feel, right? And that thought created that feeling of excitement. And, from the excitement, and that feeling, you did a couple of different things, one of which was posting. And I'm not sure, I almost feel like that post might have been under a different thought. Maybe a lot of times we thought swap, like we'll have this thought and we're like, oh no, I shouldn't have it. So, I think I shouldn't have it. And then I go ahead and I post. But, like what you told me is you posted about it to your support group. And then, but you went on thinking about it, and the thought kept going on over and over. And then you tried to avoid the chocolate chips. So you ate something else, and you ended up eating the chocolate chips as well.
Yes, that sounds right. Yes.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like you're thinking in the beginning, I know how good this is going to feel when I get these. How good did it feel afterwards when you ate them?
Well, at first there wasn't much of a return. I was like, man, it's okay.
Uh-huh.
But
you didn't feel good about yourself.
No, it wasn't really worth it. But then the more I had it in my system, the more I craved it and the more I ate it. And then I think it kicked into the high dopamine reaction that, Dr. Lyle talks about in his Pleasure Trap book.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
right, because as much as we want a food, right, so we eat something sweet and we get this dopamine response. And, this dopamine response, for those that haven't watched or don't even know about the pleasure trap or this triad that we call it, we used to eat berries, right? We used to eat fruit when we were cavemen and cave women. And we would get this regular dopamine response. Like it was good. The dopamine response feels good in our body, and it perpetuates the desire in our body to continue doing it. And we need desire to eat, right? Because if we didn't eat, we would die. So that's actually really great that our body does that. However, what's happened now is that we have all these artificial foods that give an artificial sweetness. So when you eat something like the chocolate chip, where you might get double the dopamine release that you would get originally from the berry. So our body is like, wow, I got a lot of dopamine from that. So that must mean it's super important to my survival. So then we start wanting more and more and more. And as I'm sure you know, you're going to need a little bit more each time to get that same hit, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so you go back into this, what she calls the pleasure trap, right? You get trapped in this vicious circle.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so we have that, but we also have this urge that you have, and this is what, you know, what we talk about, Cheri talks about in her Eat to Live Academy, and this is what I talk about with my private one-on-one coaching clients, is how do we have a desire for something? How do we have an urge for something and not react to it? So, you know, that's, I think, part of the issue here is learning how to want something and feel the desire and not take action. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Teach me that.
Well, and that thing, right? Like that's something, you know, we have tons of tools that help our clients with that. And that's not something obviously that I can just fix for you right here in 20 minutes. But you know, the gist of it is, you know, we have this pattern. So the pattern is I have a thought, which is usually I want that, I need that, it's going to taste so good, right? And then we have this feeling that comes up, and that feeling is desire or an urge, like we talk about it being an urge. And from that feeling of desire, we eat the food. And then it just reinforces that pattern. Like have you heard of Pavlov's dogs?
Yeah.
It's like Pavlov's dogs, right? He rings the bell, and then the dog, you know, salivates because the dog gets a treat. And then he rings the bell, the dog salivates, the dog gets a treat, or the dog gets the treat. So eventually he rings the bell and the dog will salivate without there even being a treat there. He's just so used to the bell ringing. So, you know, what we have to do is exactly what Pavlov did, is ring the bell and then you stop giving the treat. And over time, the dog will stop salivating. Now, I'm not saying that you're a dog. I'm not saying that I'm a dog, but that's what our goal is. So our goal is to start having the thought and noticing the thought, I want that, you know, understanding the feeling, the desire that comes with it, and then stopping the pattern right there. Taking a break in between that feeling that you want to eat it and the action of eating it. It's unlearning probably years and years and years of a pattern for you.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but is it worth it?
Well, I think that's really, it comes down to, if I don't learn it, I won't get healthy.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you been through the Eat to Live Academy all the way through where she talks about feeling the urges?
No, I just started last week.
Oh my gosh, you're going to just love it. You're going to just love it. So, you know, right now what you really need to start doing is noticing those thoughts that you're having.
Okay. So keeping that thought journal like Cheri gave for homework.
Yes, keeping that thought journal, exactly. Because the thoughts create all of our results. And we can really take a look at that, right? With the thought that you gave me, you know, I know how good it's going to feel when I eat it. Because that thought right there created the excitement, and you took action from that place of excitement.
Okay.
You know, somebody else, and we're not really sure what happened to give you that thought, right? You said you just woke up and you had that thought. So maybe you had a dream about chocolate. Maybe, I don't know, somebody was eating chocolate in your house. Whatever the circumstance was, you know, someone else might have a completely different thought about that.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I could get to the point where I have a different thought about that.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't want you to thought swap right away, right? Because I want you to be able to figure out how to have that feeling and not jump into action.
Uh-huh.
But yes, that's true. You don't have to automatically go to, I know how good that's going to feel. You know, and that's something that you'll learn through the academy, or if you end up doing private coaching, you learn through the private coaching that it's okay that I'm having that thought. Listen, our brain has so many thoughts. It's like, do you ever go to the dry cleaners and they have that what is that? That bar that just keeps going by you, the conveyor belt that goes by you with all of the clothes?
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine that each one of those hanged items is a thought, and they're just going by you. And one of them is, I know how good that feels. And one of them is, maybe I know how good health feels. And so you'll end up getting to the point where you can decide, yeah, I used to think something like that, but this is what I'm choosing now. You know, but the first step here, and that's why we go through what I call the model, and what we've learned as the model, is that you really have to pay attention to those thoughts, because until you know what thoughts you're having, you're not going to be able to change your results. You know, and I super appreciate you bringing this to the table, because we all have thoughts like this. You know, many people who struggle with weight have these types of thoughts, and you think, gosh, there's something wrong with me. Why did I have to eat the chocolate chips? If I just tried harder, I wouldn't eat the chocolate chips.
Right.
But go ahead.
It's how does this tie into binging, where if I've made a batch of chocolate chip cookies,
Mm-hmm.
I can have one, but one's not enough. I have to have 12.
Mm-hmm.
If it's there, I eat it. It's just, how do thoughts tie into that? It seems like it's almost outside of thought.
It does. It's almost like the thoughts are unconscious to you, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, what I will tell you about this, I know we can't solve it all right now today, but what I will tell you about this is what happens is we have a thought that we've practiced for so long that it goes from the part of our brain that's really conscious, like what is our human brain, our prefrontal cortex. It goes from that part of our brain, because our brain likes to be efficient, and it goes back so that it just, we don't even really have to think about it so much anymore. It becomes automatic. So you almost feel like you're acting against your will. The thought is still there. It's just been so practiced that it's become a habit. It's just become something that we don't even think about anymore.
So how do you break those really strong thought habits then?
Well, that's what you'll be learning. That's exactly what you're going to.
Highway.
Yeah. So that's what you're going to be learning throughout the 8-week program in the Eat to Live Academy, is how to really start taking a look at them, because we don't want to break them until we've really taken a look at them. And we take a look at them by doing these thought downloads, and we start to learn that our thoughts create our results. And then we start to learn how to sit with the feeling and how to sit with an emotion, and then not react to it by eating. You know, and little by little, once you're learning how to sit with a feeling, sitting with an emotion, and not reacting to it by eating, you start to create new patterns.
Okay, so I'm just at the beginning of the process.
You're just at the beginning of the process.
Okay.
But this is so great, right? This is the best news ever. You're at the beginning of this process. It's going to just really uncover so much knowledge for you, and so much life-changing skills that you're going to learn. You know, but the real thing that I want you to remember today and kind of stick with today is to watch those thoughts, right? Because it's that thought, I know how good it feels, I want that perpetuates the feeling. And then from the feeling, you eat the food. And let me tell you, your result always ties back into that original thought. Like, I know how good it's going to feel, but you know what? Health feels better. This didn't feel so good after all.
Would you recommend, in order to figure out what my thoughts are, to go backwards from what I'm feeling and try to identify, okay,
I'm having it that way. Yeah, you can do it that way. You know, you can go from your feeling and figure out what am I thinking that's giving me that feeling? That's certainly a way to do it. And to start really just journaling. Start journaling what's going on, the thoughts, because we really need to empty that out onto paper. And once it's on paper, you can start to pick out those thoughts. You can start to pick out, you know, my thoughts versus my facts. You know, the facts are, there were, I don't know, 100 chocolate chip cookies. You know, my thought is, I have to eat them all. You know, my thought is, they're irresistible. You know, all of these thoughts that you have about it. So it's starting to separate out the thoughts from the facts. But your step number one is to start journaling about your thoughts that you're having around your food and the thoughts that you're having in general.
Okay. Right. That makes a lot of sense. And actually, when I mentioned earlier in the call about the 9-day passage of really good results and behavior, journaling was huge part of that, because it helped me to see what I was thinking and have a conversation in my mind before I put anything into action. Yeah. So I already have a little bit of practice with that, so I need to just dive back in and do it again, I guess.
Yeah, because we can't create lasting results until we know what's going on, right? We can't change our results until we know what thoughts we're thinking. so that we can create new patterns. Our current thoughts and our current feelings are what got us where we are. So we have to really take a look at that before we can make any changes.
It's like shining a flashlight under the bed.
Exactly. Or opening that junk drawer.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you offering up to do this, because there are so many people out there that have the same kind of thoughts and the same kind of struggles that you have. And by sharing your struggles, you're helping so many other people.
Well, thank you for spending some time with me and giving me some advice. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Be well.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye. So I'm back. What did you think of that? Could you see yourself when that client shared that she started with the chocolate chips and then kept eating and eating and eating? Could you see how her thoughts were making this even more intense, this desire? She was drumming up more and more desire with her thoughts. I love this. I love being able to show my clients their minds and help them make lasting changes in their life to transform their health and wellness. So once again, I just want to recap that what I do here at The Watering Mouth is I do one-on-one coaching for those that are ready to transform their lives. So if you think having a life coach who's also a registered dietitian is something that you would be interested in, please go ahead and follow the link below and apply to have a mini session with me to see if we're a great fit. If you still love the video, but you aren't ready for that private one-on-one coaching, I implore you to go on and take a look at that document that I have under cheat sheets, totally free. www.thewateringmouth.com/cheat sheets. Thanks for listening.